Hello children. So now we'll be seeing up the next page of the lesson. So what did Maggie do after taking up a pair of scissors? So it was big enough and suddenly there was a cut and a sound of snip was heard. Snip, it is nothing but a quick cut. She just went on cutting her hair, and we have seen in the previous video that uh, the hairs which are there on the forehead she just cut off, and Tom had warned you to stop up cutting up the hairs, but Maggie did not do so. A snip, a quick cut was done. When the great scissors again while the Tom was speaking, he could not help feeling it was rather good fun. So he was enjoying himself. He could not help out himself just apart from laughing. So it seems that it was Tom was having very fun of Maggie what she was doing in the room in front of the mirror. As we all can see in the picture, she is standing in front of a mirror and she is cutting out her hairs. And Tom is just enjoying the moment. Here, Tom, you might cut it behind for me, said Maggie, anxious to finish the deed. The work, the deed, it is nothing but the work. So she is asking help of Tom just to cut off the back hairs. Did he really cut and did he really help Maggie to cut her hairs? So let's see in the next lines of the lesson as it goes off. You will catch it, said Tom again, and hesitating a little, he took the scissors. You will catch it, in the sense you will be caught and you will be punished because of what you are doing it now, said Tom. And by thinking for a while, and he just took out the scissors, and what he did? Never mind, hurry up, said Maggie. So Maggie was never worried about what would be the next result and what would her parents say about that. She said, never mind, please hurry up. Giving a little stamp with her foot, her cheek were quite red. So she was very annoyed with the scoldings where she had got from her parents always. So to get rid of that, she took a decision to cut off her hairs, and her cheeks were already red in full of excitement and a kind of an affrightness. Then the black hair was so thick, nothing could be more pleasing to a lad. A lad, it is nothing but a boy, who had already enjoyed the forbidden pleasure of cutting the horse mane. So he would always cut off the horse mane. Horse mane, it is nothing but the long hairs of the horse, which it will be having at the back of its neck. So that's the meaning of the word mane here. So he would enjoy doing it for the horse, but now he is doing it for Maggie. So the black hair was so thick enough of Maggie, and he was very pleasing, and he was just having a pleasure of the moment. And there is a strange satisfaction in making a pair of scissors cut through a mass of hair. So he was enjoying the moment and he was having himself a pleasure of cutting off the hairs of Maggie. One delightful snip, it is nothing but a quick cut, and then another and another, and pieces of hair fell heavily on the floor, and Maggie stood, her cut hair shot in an uneven manner, but with a sense of freedom, as if she had come out from a wood into the open plain. So whatever might be the result may be, but Maggie stood out there to cut off her hairs. And on the floor, there was a heavy fell of her hairs. Fell, it is a past tense of a word, fall there. And the hairs were all fell very heavily on the floor, which was clearly visible. And she should have always to be get rid of the hairs, and some sense of freedom she was feeling in while cutting off the hair. So Tom here is the one who just enjoyed cutting off the hairs, and he helped out Maggie to cut off the hairs again. So let's go through with the last of paragraph of the lesson here. Oh Maggie, said Tom, jumping round her and laughing. Oh my buttons, look at yourself in the glass. So again, so he's just telling out with full of excitement and a kind of a surprise that, oh my buttons, jumping and laughing. He's just telling Maggie to look herself in the mirror. Glass, it is nothing but a mirror here. And then Tom was totally enjoying the moment. And what happens next? Let's see in the further of the lesson now. So I'll be moving on to the next page of the lesson. Please go through it. Okay, so he says Maggie felt an unexpected pain. So she was feeling an unexpected pain. She had thought beforehand beforehand, chiefly of her own freedom from her annoying hair and the annoying remarks about it, and something also of the triumph she would have over her mother and her aunts by this very bold action. So this was one of a very bold action was taken up by Maggie, as though she knew the result what would happen for them, and she would have experienced it before, that her mother and her aunts would scold because of her action what she is doing now. And then moving on to the next line, she did not want her hair to look pretty, she don't want to look herself pretty. That was out of the question. So she did not have a picture that she had to look very pretty and all. But the thing is, she had to get rid of the scoldings from her parents, even her relatives, uncles and aunts. She only wanted to think her that she is a clever girl, clever little girl, and not to scold her. She only had a thing in her mind that that she everybody should think that she is a clever a little girl and she should not be scolded enough. But now, when Tom began to laugh at her, it became quite a different affair. So Tom did not stop at all laughing. He was continuing with his laugh and making fun out of Maggie, but she felt a quiet pain in her. So what she has done, because now she is feeling up something bad, that aunt and her mother would scold her. She looked in the glass, I'm just repeating the meaning of a word, glass, it's nothing but the mirror. She looked in the glass until Tom laughed and clapped his hand. Maggie's cheek began to grow pale and her lips to tremble a little. So by just imagining what would be the results after knowing that she has cut off her hair that is very unevenly, by thinking that she has grown pale in the sense to grow very dull enough, and her lips to tremble a little. So her lips are getting trembled, shivering. Her lips are just getting shivered. Then, oh Maggie, you will have to go down to dinner directly, said Tom. Oh my! So he's just increasing the fearness of Maggie by saying that you might go directly for the dinner downstairs, where his uncle, aunts, and her parents have gathered for the dinner. So don't laugh at me, Tom, said Maggie. She just raised her voice and she yelled on Tom that don't laugh at me, Tom, bursting into tears and giving him a push. She just pushed him off and she was bursted out with the tears. Now then, Spitfire, said Tom. Now the Spitfire had already just begun off. What is Spitfire? Someone who gets upset or angry very quickly, to get very angry very quickly. Now then, the Spitfire, said Tom. Of course, you look funny. You should have thought of that before. I shall go down. I can smell the dinner going. So he just don't want to wait here and waste any more time by helping out Maggie over there. So what he did is he just want to go down and he can smell out the delicious food which was already prepared for the dinner. And he also just said that uh, you would have thought before doing the thing what you have done now. So nothing can be changed now. So then later, what has happened? He hurried downstairs and left poor Maggie there itself. And Maggie, to her misery, she could see clearly enough now what the thing was done. Then that it was very foolish, and that she would have to hear and think more about her hairs than ever. She would have thought before going into an action, but it's too late now, and it was a very foolish decision which was taken out by Maggie. But nothing can be helped now. Tom never did the same sort of foolish things as Maggie. So here the Tom's personality is being explained, that he has not done or he has not conducted or he has not taken up a kind of a foolish decisions what Maggie has taken up. And so it happened that through he was much more willful than Maggie. So he used to be very confident and very a kind of an assurance manner. He would have all type of the things what would happen if he does this action. He would be having that sense and was doing up the work. But here Maggie has completely had done a adverse kind of a thing. His mother hardly ever called him naughty, so he was never scolded, and his mother never called him naughty and all. But Maggie, as she stood crying before the glass, felt it impossible that she should go down to dinner and endure the severe words of her aunt, while Tom and Lucy and Martha, who waited at the table, and perhaps her father and her uncles would laugh at her. So she just imagined what would be the picture downstairs. And the cousins of Maggie, that is Tom, Lucy, and Martha, who are waiting on the table for the dinner. And what would uncle and her father say? Uncles and her father say. So definitely they would have a laugh on her. For if Tom laughed at her, of course, everyone else would. And if she had let her hairs alone, she could have sat with Tom and Lucy and had the sweet pudding. And he also said that if you have not done this action, or if you have not cut your hairs unevenly, and if you would have not looked so funnily, you would have sat beside between Lucy and Tom and would be tasting up the sweet pudding there. But unfortunately, she could not go downstairs directly, and she was just thinking what has to be done now. So, and what she will be doing, we'll see in the next line of the lesson. So what could she do but weep? So she don't have any option at all apart from weeping. It is nothing but crying. So she sat on the floor helpless and despairing among her black hair. So she sat on the hair itself by crying, which has fell already on the floor. Miss Maggie, you are to come down this moment, said Kezia. So Kezia, she just entered in, and she just calling out her for the dinner. Her parents are calling her downstairs. Entering the room hurriedly, gracious, what have you been doing? I never saw such a fright. So she was very much frightened, and she was trembling enough. So this position and this situation was observed by Kezia, and she just told that very graciously that I have never experienced, and I have never saw you in this much of fright. And Kezia was also very eager to know what would have happened. So I'll just stop here. Please go through the lesson, uh, and we'll continue in the next video. Thank you.